Kevin Collins here with another raw file of the week edit for the FroKnowsPhoto.com forums. Let's get a couple of things out of the way, just disclaimer wise. First thing, I'm suffering from springtime sinuses, allergies, and my head has stopped up, and I'm sniffling. I've some sneezing, and my throat is getting a little raw. So I apologize for the cracky voice and any sneezes and snuffles that you might hear in this video. Second of all, let's get on with the YouTube stuff. This is not my picture. I didn't take this picture. Tobias Fisher did, as best I can tell, and the only thing I'm doing is edits for the segment on the FroKnowsPhoto.com forums. I want to thank Tobias for taking the picture and allowing us to use it, and I hope he takes more, and I hope he gets more put on the on the segment. So the picture's not mine, the edits are, and that's it. I'm hoping to try and make something pleasing out of it that that people enjoy. So I did see Greg and Jared edit this picture today. I saw their video, and I'm kind of shocked that they both arrived basically in the same place. It's probably the first time that this program's been going on that I've seen that. So it's going to be kind of wild. Now, yes, there's a lot of things that could be done with this picture, and Greg and Jared even mentioned, HDR, and I've thought about that. But I'm really just going to keep to the low key, try and make it as natural as possible, and try and just make it a little more pleasing to where things stand out a little better. So with that, we're going to get straight into it. Let me just read off the image information, or the actual picture information. It was taken by Nikon D3000. Using an 18 to 105 millimeter f3.5 to 5.6 lens, which, if I'm not mistaken, is a kit lens. I'm not a Nikon guy, so I'm not exactly sure, but that sounds like a standard kit lens these days. It was set at 52 millimeters focal length, shot at f5.6, 1/1000th of a second, ISO 100. So with that out of the way, let's talk about the picture a little bit and try and see where we're going to go with it. Great picture. Definitely out on top of a mountain somewhere. Looks like it might be Alps, European type mountains. I guess it may be out in the Rockies. And there's my phone going off, and I don't know why. Geez, answer machine, pick it up. Anyway, it looks to me like like it was an overcast day. Obviously, I mean there's lots of clouds there, and that's giving it an even lighting, which is great. But it's a dull lighting, and it kind of mutes the colors. You just can't tell a whole lot of separation between this bench and the dirt and the gravel here. So that's what we're going to try and concentrate on. That's what I'm going to try and concentrate on. I'm going to try and get some separation here, but between the foreground, the background, and this bench. So let's just go on and get started on it. I'm going to make a copy, and then I'm going to rename the copy to, I can't type, make sure that we're in the copy, and we're going to go ahead and open it in Camera Raw. Okay, so like I said, my entire goal here is to make the foreground stand out from the background, have this even the foreground stand out from the bench, and I'm going to try and get a little more definition in the sky to try and bring out the the difference in these clouds, which I think are cumulus clouds, and the other clouds, which are stratus clouds, I think. The puffy clouds from the blanket clouds. So let's see what we can do with it, okay? First thing I want to do, I think, is I want to start with exposure and just bump that up a little bit, just so we can get some detail down here in the ground and a little more detail underneath. I may even go so far as to pump it up to like, yeah, 3/4 of a stop. And that may be a little much. We may come back and change that. Going to pump up the contrast, or as Jared says, we're going to boomify it. And what I'm looking for is detail here in the gravel, just to try and bring those out a little bit. Now I know that the focus is up here on this bench. Use a keyboard shortcut here, and the focus. Oops. Let's get back to 100% zoom. The focus is up here on this bench, which is the center point of the picture, and that's great. That's fine. But at 5.6, the depth of field is pretty big, and even stuff here on the ground is in pretty good focus. I mean, even these spots on this rock here. So all these things that are kind of in focus or mostly in focus, I'm going to try and just get a little more clarity to them. And I'm even going to go so far, speaking of clarity, as to bump up the clarity after I get done with the contrast here. So we're going to go back to 100%, or to fit it on the screen. Bump up the contrast, bump up the clarity. And like I said, I'm just looking for a little more detail down here in the gravel at this point. Maybe go so far as to put in a little black. Bump it up to about 7 or so. Now I'm going to zoom in to 100%, and I'm going to drag this down to where I can see the grain in that wood, the rings, and I'm going to use that for sharpening. I'm going to start off with Jared's general sharpening, which I basically just ripped right out of his settings. He showed them in one of his videos, and I just duplicated them. And I just use that as a starting point. In my experience, most of the time that sharpening is just a little on the heavy side. I mean, I know it's geared toward portrait type shots, which is what Jared does a lot of. But I don't in these landscape type things, in my opinion, it's just a little much. So we're going to go back over here to the details, and we're going to tweak the sharpening just ever so slightly. I'm going to thin this mask out just a little bit to where it doesn't pick up every little fleck in that wood. So then we're going to bring the amount down just so it kind of, you can tell the rings, you can tell there's a lot of rings and a lot of detail, a lot of age. Bring the radius down so it's not as splotchy, and bring the detail down enough to where it just looks like a ghost kind of deal in there. Yeah. So there's where I am on sharpening. Excuse me for the tissue there. 36 on the amount, 0.7 on the radius, 16 on detail, and 82 on the mask. So we're going to go back to 100%, or fit in the view there. Now I think what I'm going to do is go back and work on the white balance, and I'm going to warm it up. Excuse me. Oh, excuse me. I'm going to warm it up just ever so slightly. To like 5900. And now for the sky. I'm not going to be able to do much with it because, I mean, even if you were to punch this exposure down to like -3 stops, there's not much there. I mean, it's basically cloud cover. There is some, started to point with my finger, there is some different types of clouds at a lower elevation, as you can see here, but there's so few of them that I don't think that, and the clouds above them blend in so well that I don't think I can get much separation through it. So I'm going to basically just try and punch up the blues to make the cloud cover just be different. So we're going to pump this back to 0.75. And then we're going to go to our HSL levels, and I'm going to go to the luminance, and I'm going to bring down the blues just enough to where you can see little cracks of blue, you know, all over. I mean, this cloud cover up top isn't a solid blanket, but I mean, it's pretty much 80% coverage up there, 90% coverage, but there is some flecks of blue in there, and I just want to bring them out. So we're going to bring that down to probably about 30, minus 30, excuse me again with this tissue. And then we're going to pump the saturation on the blues just a fuzz, maybe 14, just to make sure that they're, you know, where blue is, it stands out. So now you can see a little bit of delineation here in these clouds. You can see some blues coming through here. These clouds here on this side kind of stand out a little bit, and you can definitely see some blue peeking through over here. So honestly, for all intents and purposes, that's probably about as far as I'm going to go with it. At least for this this edit. I'm going to go ahead and open it in Photoshop and put my borders on it. What I'm thinking, the more that I edit this thing, which I've edited it 3 times now, the more I edit it, the more I'm thinking that I may want to try and do some HDR work, if for no other reason than just to try and bring out the sky. And like I said, I know there's not much there, but I'm thinking if I can do like a 5 photo set with 3 variations in, or 5 variations in exposure for this, I might be able to get the sky out of it. And I don't know. I mean, I think I'm going to give it a shot. It may not be worth much, but if nothing else, it gives me experience. All right. So I'm going to put my borders on, and that's pretty much where I want to leave it. I'm just going to save this in the edits folder and get out of Photoshop. So here is my before and my after. This is the before, straight out of the camera. Like I said, it's a great shot, great composition, nice focus. It's just that the colors were muted because of the lighting, and you know, there's really not much person can do with that kind of scene. So here's our after. We brightened it up a little bit, punched the colors, and tried to give it some definition, just a separation from the foreground to the background, and let that bench be the focal point. I mean, I know I talked a whole lot about the gravel and the dirt and stuff, but that really was just to give it this orangey look here in front versus the gray that the bench is versus the blues that are the rest of the picture. So with that, I'm gonna just go ahead and leave you with my final shot here. I'll upload this video here in a minute, and along with my my edited picture. And the last thing I want to do is just give a little small plug to my website. I hope this isn't against the rules. My website, I've got 2. My blog is klcollins.org, and my photo blog is at photos.klcollins.org. So until Jared and Greg release week number 19, we'll see you.